Imagine a woman, 8 months pregnant, hiking alone down a narrow trail in the high country of Montana. The sun is dropping behind the ridgeline, and she is 3 miles from the nearest road. Her body is heavier than it has ever been. Her balance is off, her breath comes faster, and every ounce of her energy is already being spent growing another human being inside her. She is, by every textbook definition of predator biology, the perfect target. Slow, exhausted, carrying double the calories a hungry mountain lion could ever ask for. And yet, wildlife agencies that track cougar, wolf, and bear encounters report something that should not be possible. Pregnant women, even when hiking solo, even when camping in grizzly country, are almost never the ones attacked. Rangers and field biologists have logged it for decades as a strange footnote. Predators that will stalk a jogger, a hunter, or a lone camper will close to within a few yards of a pregnant woman, freeze, and simply vanish back into the tree line. The question isn't whether predators notice her. They absolutely notice. A wolf, a cougar, a grizzly downwind of that trail knows exactly where she is long before she knows it's there. The real question is why, every single time, it decides not to act. And the answer reaches into shape, scent, evolutionary memory, and something researchers are only beginning to fully understand. Let's start with shape, because that's where the predator's brain starts. A predator's brain does not see a person. It sees a silhouette, a shape filed away over a lifetime, and sometimes over a species' entire evolutionary history as either prey, threat, or unknown. The human prey template, the shape a mountain lion expects when it sees Homo sapiens moving through grass, is built on thousands of years of watching upright, narrow-framed, two-legged primates. A pregnant body breaks that template completely. The center of gravity shifts forward. The torso swells into a shape with no clean evolutionary precedent in the predator's threat library. Not a deer, not an elk, not a typical primate. To a hunting cat, this unfamiliar silhouette doesn't register as wounded animal. It registers as unidentified object, and in the brutal accounting of nature, unidentified objects are not food. They're risk. This is neophobia, fear of the unfamiliar, and every large predator on Earth carries it. In the wild, the things you don't recognize are the things most likely to kill you. The animals that charged at unknown signals didn't survive long enough to pass on their genes. The cautious ones did. A pregnant woman, with her shifted center of gravity and her wide, deliberate, rhythmically different gait, neither a healthy stride nor an injured one, leaves a predator's threat assessment system stuck in a loop it was never built to resolve. Then there's smell, and this is where it gets stranger. A pregnant woman's body is running on a completely different chemical program than any other human being. Her blood carries dramatically elevated levels of progesterone, estrogen, human chorionic gonadotropin, and relaxin. Not trace amounts, but a hormonal profile so distinct a simple blood test can confirm pregnancy within days of conception. A wolf's nose reads the chemical story of everything it encounters, whether prey is injured, sick, old, or stressed. When it smells a pregnant woman, it isn't smelling a human with a slight variation. It's smelling something that doesn't match any prey category its brain has ever encoded. And underneath that chemical signature is something even more telling. Pregnancy quietly rewires the entire human stress system. Progesterone, flooding the body in massive quantities during the 3rd trimester, acts as a natural dampener on the amygdala, the brain's panic switch. Pregnant women, even in objectively dangerous situations, frequently register lower spikes in cortisol than non-pregnant women in identical scenarios, the body's own design to protect the fetus from chronic stress hormones. To a predator reading the air, this produces a creature with an unrecognizable shape, an unreadable gait, and almost none of the fear chemicals that should accompany a vulnerable target. In a predator's evolutionary memory, the only things that move through dark woods radiating that kind of unbothered calm are apex animals with nothing left to fear. There's a second layer of protection here too, one that almost never gets mentioned. Throughout nearly all of human history, pregnant women were rarely alone. Evolutionary anthropologists call it alloparental defense. Pregnant and nursing females in early human groups were kept close by other members of the tribe, often armed, often loud. A predator's ancestral memory doesn't just calculate the woman in front of it. It calculates the high statistical likelihood that an unseen, furious second party is nearby. Attacking a pregnant female, even in total isolation, still registers in that inherited risk model as attacking a guarded resource. And underneath all of this sits a deeper truth about humans themselves. Predators haven't just encountered humans. They've been hunted by us. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans have been the most dangerous thing walking through any forest on Earth. We drove the dire wolf, the cave lion, the American cheetah, and the giant hyena to complete extinction. Every predator alive today is the descendant of an animal that learned one lesson across thousands of generations. Humans are not prey. Humans are something else, something that kills. That lesson doesn't disappear when the human in question is pregnant. A grizzly looking at a pregnant woman isn't looking at an easier target. It's looking at a human with all the ancestral caution that comes with our species, plus an extra layer of unfamiliar signals compounding the uncertainty. The risk calculation shifts even further away from engagement, not closer to it. So when do predators actually attack pregnant women? Because it happens, rarely, but it happens. And when it does, the circumstances almost always collapse into the same narrow set of conditions. A surprise encounter at close range, where an animal reacts defensively before it has time to assess. A predator that's become food conditioned and lost its normal caution around humans entirely. An animal that's starving or injured and no longer capable of making a clean risk calculation. These aren't predatory choices. They're desperation, reflex, or a breakdown in the normal fear response. They're the exception that proves the rule. A healthy, wild predator that has processed all available information will almost never choose a pregnant woman as a target. Not because it pities her, not because it senses the life inside her, but because every signal her body is broadcasting means, in the language of predator risk assessment, do not engage. For most of human history, pregnancy was a period of genuine vulnerability. Tribal communities kept pregnant women close to camp, close to fire, close to other people, not just out of instinct, but out of survival logic. The wild world responded in kind. Generations of predators that pressed that vulnerability got killed. The ones that learned restraint lived. The caution we see in large predators today toward pregnant women is partly cultural memory burned into animal DNA through the deaths of every ancestor that got it wrong. So the next time someone tells you nature is cruel and indiscriminate, remember this: somewhere out there, in the dark, an ancient predator is calculating the unfamiliar scent, the unreadable gait, the wrong silhouette, and the deep alarm in its own nervous system that says this is not something to walk toward, and it is choosing every time to turn and disappear back into the trees. You carry something with you that no other animal on this planet carries, an evolutionary reputation 300,000 years in the making. Whatever is out there in the dark already knows about it. If this kind of hidden survival science fascinates you, subscribe and turn on notifications, because we're uncovering a new one of these every single week, and you do not want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.